Well, welcome. It got quiet enough. I think we'll go ahead and start. Sorry, we were having some streaming issues, so we were seeing if that was getting up and going, but we will go ahead and get started. If we will please stand for a moment of silence. Thank you. You may be seated. I would call this meeting to order at 5:02. Tonight we are doing call to the public along with public comment. Anyone who wishes to speak on an agenda item or at call to the public, please complete the sign-in sheet in the lobby prior to the public comment time on the board agenda. If everyone will please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance led by Ms. Arlinda Mann, Assistant Superintendent, West Area Elementary Schools.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
Thank you. We will begin tonight with a video on governing board procedures, and then I'll read a statement.
Welcome to the Mesa Public Schools Governing Board meeting. We appreciate your interest in the district. The 5 elected governing board members serve without compensation and volunteer countless hours. The president and the clerk of the board are elected in January. Under state law, the governing board may only discuss and vote on matters that are on the agenda for tonight's meeting. Agendas are posted a minimum of 24 hours in advance on the Mesa Public Schools website and in the Curriculum Services Center. Copies of tonight's agenda are located in the lobby. The public may speak on any item of business on the agenda that the board discusses or requires the board to take action. If you wish to comment on an action or discussion item, please complete a request to address the board form before the item is discussed. The form is located in the lobby. Members of the public will be given a maximum of 3 minutes to speak once recognized by the governing board president. Please state your name before you speak. We ask that all speakers show respect and courtesy to others. During the second regular meeting of each month, the agenda will include a call to the public, which is an opportunity to speak to the governing board about a school district matter that is not on the agenda. Please submit a request to address the board form to participate in the call to the public. If you would like the board to consider adding an item to a future agenda, you may submit your request in writing to the board at least 5 working days before that meeting. The superintendent or governing board president will consider your request. Thank you for your attendance and involvement in tonight's meeting.
This is an official governing board meeting. The board has important business to conduct that is essential to the operation of the district. Everyone is welcome to express ideas or concerns to the board in accordance with the agenda. The poster in the boardroom describes positive behaviors expected and behaviors that cannot be tolerated. Please speak and act respectively and actively listen. Be kind. Verbal harassment, abusive or foul language, intimidation, and disruption have no place in a classroom or the boardroom. Please no side conversations or reactive comments. They can be disruptive. It is the governing board president's responsibility to maintain proper order so the board can conduct its business in an orderly and efficient manner. If you're disruptive or interfere with the conduct of this meeting, you will be asked to leave so the board can conduct the business of the district. We are now going to review our calendar. Dr. Forlis, if you'll take that.
Thank you very much, Madam President, members of the Governing Board. June 24th is the next governing board meeting with a summer start time of 5 o'clock. June 25th is an additional board meeting that has been scheduled at 5 o'clock. That will be a virtual executive session. July 8th, also a summer start time, 5 p.m. And then July 22nd will be the last governing board meeting of the summer, and that will also start at 5 p.m. Starting in August, I want to make sure that we share with our community that there will be a change to governing board meeting dates and times. So in August, the regular governing board meetings will start at 6 p.m. instead of 6:30 on the second and fourth Thursday of the month. So that is a strategic change from the second and fourth Tuesday of the month to the second and fourth Thursday of the month. We will continue to post the board agenda on the Friday before the meeting. This will allow the board and public to have more time to review materials before the meeting that will occur on Thursday.
Thank you, Dr. Forlis. And now to the exciting part. It's so great to see a summer meeting with such a full room, and we have lots of students to recognize. So, board, if you'll join me around the front, and Dr. Forlis, we'll turn the time to you.
Celebrating success is just one of the ways that we ignite a culture of learning and well-being in Mesa Public Schools. We are committed to recognizing students, teachers, staff, and administrators for their achievements. So tonight, it is our honor to celebrate several of our high school student athletes, a speech and debate winner, and students from our International Baccalaureate program, which is known as IB. We have a lot to celebrate and a lot of people here to celebrate with us, so we're going to get started. So first, we are going to recognize Mountain View High School Boys Unified Track and Field Team for winning the 2025 AIA Division I State Championship. So students, as I call your names, please take your place right here in the limelight on center stage. We have Sawyer Hagan, Jackson Woolley. You'll come around and look forward. Mrs. Snyder will help to place you. There we go. Ryan McMahon, Tyson Rivera, Skylar Miles, Sam Camberg, Brent Pierce, who was an alternate, and Emmanuel Johnson, also an alternate. So we have those that could be here this evening, so we're so happy that you are here. I also want to recognize Sawyer and Jackson, who are state champions in 3 events: the 2x100 relay, the 2x200 relay, and the 2x400 relay. So students, will you please, we're going to have you walk kind of in a curve, shake hands with our governing board. We'll all come forward and take a group picture. And we're going to have you stay right here. We'll gather. Next, we will recognize the Westwood High School Girls Unified Track and Field Team for winning the 2025 AIA State Championship. So, students, as I announce your names, you kind of see the pattern here. Come on up. You're going to step into the light, and then we will take a group picture. So our girls team state champions, Camilla Rodriguez Corona, come on up. Navi Brinkerhoff, come on up. Eliza Anderson, Abby Blattner, Ripley Swinehart, Michaela Dale, Abony Fazende Moody, I think I got that, I practiced, Rebecca Gibson, Lupita Riviera Salgado, and Christiana Deering. Big round of applause for all of you. All right, don't go too far. Additionally, I want to recognize several of these amazing young ladies who are individual state champions. Girls shot put state champions are Lupita and Navi. Girls turbo javelin state champs are Abeni and Navi. Girls long jump state champs, Christiana and Camila. And the girls 2x100 relay was Abeni as well. Still going. Oh, and Michaela. Girls 2x400 relay state champs, Christiana Deering. You're hearing a pattern here. Abby Blattner. Girls 2x200 meter relay state champions were Lupita and Eliza. Girls 4x100 relay state champs, Christiana, Michaela, Camila, and Abony. So lots and lots and lots to celebrate. And we have a very special coach to join. Come on, Meg. Come on. And Heidi. Oh, here we are. Next up, we're recognizing the boys 4x100 relay unified state champions from Westwood High School. So can I please have Wilson Banks, Jack Murphy, Jaden Hutchinson, and William McFadden come up for a photo and a handshake. And I see a coach. Come on up. Now we will move to the AIA Track and Field State Open Championship, where athletes get a chance to go head-to-head against the best of the best, regardless of division. We have two individual champions to recognize this evening. First up is a very familiar face, so can we please have Daniel Judd from Mountain View High School please come on up and join us? Is Daniel here? I didn't see him. Yeah, I didn't see Daniel. But let me brag about Daniel for a minute. Daniel won the 1,600 and 3,200 meters at the Open Track and Field State Championship. So we have a lot to celebrate for Daniel. Now, Josh Lee from Red Mountain High School, can you please join us for photos and a handshake? You get to stand right here in the middle. Josh is the Open State Shot Put Champion. Congratulations to you, Josh. Do you have a coach here tonight? Is your coach with you? Come on, coach. Oh, coaches, plural. All right. Oh, we'll do a picture real quick, then we'll change it up a little. All right, we're going to switch a little gear here. Now we are thrilled to recognize a state speech and debate champion from Mesa High School. Will Nelson Deere please join me at the podium for photos and handshakes? Come on up, Nelson. So I want to tell you a little bit about Nelson's success. Nelson won the Dramatic Interpretation category at the Arizona State Speech and Debate Championship this past March. His winning piece drew inspiration from Native American author Sherman Alexie's autobiographical essay, Superman and Me, delving into themes of literacy, identity, and life on the Spokane Indian Reservation in northeastern Washington. A big congratulations to you, Nelson. We're going to do handshakes and a picture. And finally, tonight, we are thrilled to recognize 3 of our International Baccalaureate students from Westwood High School. I will call each up individually for a photo and a handshake. So first up is the Arizona IB Diploma Program Student of the Year, Tova Brodsky. Tova, can you please join us? We'll do a handshake and then come up front. Congratulations to Tova, and we'll have you stand right here. Next up, we want to recognize the Arizona IB Spirit of IB Diploma Program Student of the Year, Brianna Morales. Brianna, can you please join us? She's not here. Yes, here we go. If you are here to celebrate any of the, and last but certainly not least, can the Arizona IB Career Program Student of the Year, Natasha Grogan, please join us for photos and handshakes. If you are here to celebrate any of these incredible students, please stand to be recognized because we know it takes a village to support them. We know that you might want to celebrate outside of this boardroom, so feel free that if you would like to celebrate elsewhere, that would be fine. We're going to get on with our business meeting. We've got a couple other, but we do have some principals to recognize when we approve the personnel agenda. So we will be back to recognize our principals.
Congratulations once again to all of our students here tonight. We would like to take a moment at this time. We'll let the party continue out there for a minute. It's exciting. We do want to take a moment tonight to recognize Dr. Forlis. This is her last board meeting. So Chad, can you please play the video for us?
Andy, thank you so much for the dedication and the love that you've shown to Mesa's school children. You had the most important job in our city, and you did it very, very well. So on behalf of our community, thank you. Thank you so much.
Dr. Forlis, congratulations, and thank you so much for your partnership and everything that you have done for our community in the city of Mesa.
Congratulations on your retirement, Andy. It's very well deserved.
Congratulations, Dr. Forlis, on your retirement, and good luck in your next chapter. You will definitely be missed.
Congratulations, Dr. Forlis, on your retirement. Thank you for serving the students at Westwood High School, our staff, and our community the last several years. We wish you only the best going forward.
Hi, Dr. Forlis. Thank you for coming to read to us.
Congratulations, Andy. Even though you are going to be sorely missed, I'm super happy for you and your next adventures in this next chapter of your life. Thank you for all you've done to support our kids here in Mesa.
Andy, congratulations on your retirement.
Happy retirement, Andy. Congratulations.
Hi, Andy. Best of luck and love as you begin this next chapter in the book of Andy life.
Thank you for loving us, chickens. We love you and we will miss you. Feel our love all day.
Hello, Andy. You are going to crush retirement, just like you do everything else in life. I'm sure you're not going to be standing still. We love you, and oh, how we are going to miss you.
Happy retirement, Dr. Forlis. Stay awesome.
Dr. Forlis, thanks so much for everything you've done for Mesa Public Schools. Thank you for believing in me as an educator, as a teacher leader, and now an administrator here in Mesa Public Schools. Thank you for all your support for our students, your big heart for every kid who walks through our doors every day. What you've done for this district and our students means the world to me. Thank you so much. Happy retirement.
Happy retirement, Andy. I wish you the very best.
Andy, I love you. We love you. Happy retirement. And just know we will miss you.
Congratulations, Andy, on your upcoming retirement as the superintendent of Mesa Public Schools.
Hi, Dr. Forlis. Thank you for always visiting our classroom.
Congratulations, Dr. Forlis. Happy retirement. Happy new adventures. We will all miss you.
Hey, Dr. Forlis, it's Linda over at Dobson. Just want to wish you the best in this new venture and thank you for everything you've done for us. Going to miss seeing your smiling face walking into Dobson when you come. Again, congratulations and best of luck.
Hi, Dr. Forlis. Thank you for our book, The Interrupting Chicken.
Andy, I just want to say thank you so much for all the support you've given us in security. Happy retirement.
Congratulations, Andy. Now go enjoy the next phase of your life.
Hi, Mom. Happy retirement. Here's to all of the beach vacations coming your way. I love you.
We just want to say thank you to Dr. Forlis and her commitment to Mesa Public Schools and our community. I'm truly grateful for the vision she's brought to the district and for the innovation we're now seeing as a result of her vision. I'm especially thankful for her dedication to community involvement. Your efforts to open doors, invite more parents into conversations have made a meaningful difference. From strengthening Mesa Parent Council to launching the Parent Advisory Committee this year, your leadership has created more opportunities for parents to be heard and engaged. I wish you all the best in this next chapter of life and lots of time at the beach. At this time, I'd like to invite any board members who wish to share their thoughts to do so. And then finally, I'd like to ask Board Member Hutchinson to close the discussion as she has something special for Dr. Forlis. board members.
I just wanted to tell Dr. Forlis how much it meant to me and the experiences that my kids have had because of her leadership in Mesa Public Schools and the ways that parents have really felt that they could be part of this experience, and that leadership led me to this place. So thank you. I'm excited for this next part of your journey, and I know that great things lie ahead, and I'm so grateful that you came and spent time with us here in Mesa Public Schools.
Well, Dr. Forlis, I'm hoping that your retirement is more relaxing than mine has been, and that you're able to really enjoy beach days, retiring to something that I'm sure that as you put your passion to it, you'll bring vision to that as well. So thanks for your years of service. I know going through COVID, that's when you jumped right into the superintendency. It was a challenging time. And I think I mentioned this to you once before, but one of the things that I really appreciated was that you were looking to be responsive to keeping schools open, keeping kids engaged in ways that other people probably would not have been. Your desire to potentially partner with Prenda, even though it didn't come to fruition, I was like, that's impressive. So congratulations on retirement. Enjoy the beach. Have a margarita for us.
Yeah, thank you for your service. And I think, as Mike Oliver said, you'll crush retirement. And you are opening a new chapter of your life. And I'm happy for you, and I wish you the best of luck in your retirement. I hope you'll find good things to do. I think, as I say, I hope you find things to keep you occupied. But I'm sure you will, and you know, maybe we'll hear from you again. But I hope you definitely take time to enjoy your family. And the beach sounds awesome to me too. And make sure you get all that fun stuff in.
Andy, you may have noticed that some of your former bosses are here. We were able to gather former board members, and I'd like to introduce them at this time. Dr. Joe O'Reilly is here. He served up until December of this year. And we have Mr. Stephen Peterson, fresh from South Africa, having served a mission there, and we're delighted. I was thrilled to text you and to find that you were on this side of the Atlantic. Former President Elaine Miner is here today. Elaine and Jenny Richardson, also former president. There were the four of us hired Dr. Forlis. She entered into a very tumultuous time, took on the reins with kindness, caring, compassion, and that's good because the fourth C was COVID. And as Board Member Benson said, you did that with amazing grace under fire, and it oftentimes was from board members like me. And I just want to tell you how much I appreciate you. We have many things to be proud of, but I think the most important thing is every board meeting you said the promise that every student will know my name, served by strength and need, and graduate ready for college, career, and community. And everything you did was to help this community fulfill its promise to its kids and its families. I mean, the things that you have been able to initiate, whether it's teacher leadership, professional development, giving kids opportunities to be entrepreneurs in the arts, who does that? Andy Forlis does that. The Next Education Workforce, which is a model for the nation. Over almost 1,500 education leaders from around the nation have come to Mesa Public Schools to learn from us. But most importantly, all of the initiatives were done by employees that would walk through hot coals for you because of the type of leader that you are. You will leave the district in a beautiful position to succeed and excel because you have helped us realize our potential. So this board and your former bosses would like to give you a small token of our appreciation. I just probably should mention that we are going to Thursdays, as you heard, in August, and Dr. Forlis will be spending some of her Thursdays at the Mesa Arts Center enjoying music instead of board meetings. So we all wanted to make sure that you truly did start your retirement in a happy note.
Can't wait to see what this is. Oh my goodness. And you're going to make sure that I do that, aren't you?
Uh-huh. You have seats.
Thank you very, very much. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Mercy. Oh, thank you, all of you.
We had some help from the Mesa Arts Center. They wanted to make sure that you enjoyed your retirement too.
You should explain it.
So
Oh,
Thursday
okay.
nights, I will be, as Marcy said, at the Mesa Arts Center enjoying beautiful music and cheering you on from afar. Thank you very much for such a thoughtful gift. I know my husband will love this as well, so thank you very, very much. It has been the honor of my life to serve the students of Mesa Public Schools. Every day, I think about what else can we do for them and how can we better support them to make sure that we live into our promise. And whether it's second graders at Highland Arts Academy, that they're known as the second grade chickens class. They're the chicken coop. And so we have created a tradition of bringing books to them and they're talking about their futures, about what they want to be. And every time I'm in that classroom, I think about our promise and what, as second graders, what they are building up to be when they graduate, ready for college, career, and community. I know that there have been a lot of lessons learned, a lot of memories, and a lot of laughter, and there's so many chapters left to write. I'm so honored that I've been a part of this, and I know that our district is in great hands with all of you writing the next chapters for our kids. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Forlis. Can we get a picture with the current board and Dr. Forlis and our prior board members and presidents, please?
All the bosses.
Thank you all. We are now at the time of the meeting for public comment and call to the public. First, we will watch a short video on the procedures.
The Governing Board welcomes comments from the public on non-agenda items during the call to the public. Please remember, as a general rule, public comments will be limited to 3 minutes, and the duration of an open call to the public will be 15 minutes. The President may set specific time limits for speakers and the duration of the call to the public to maximize the opportunity for individuals to offer their viewpoints. Comments must pertain to a matter that is within the jurisdiction of the Governing Board. This is not an appropriate forum to complain about an employee, student, or others. Please use the procedures established in Policy 1-302 for this purpose. State law prohibits board members from commenting on or discussing the matters presented at the end of the call to the public. The board may ask the superintendent to review the issue or place it on a future agenda. A board member may also briefly respond to criticism of a board member or the governing board. Thank you for allowing this meeting to be conducted in a peaceful and productive manner.
Before we begin, just a quick reminder that Policy 1-302 says that call to the public is limited to issues within the jurisdiction of the board and is not an appropriate forum for persons to complain about a specific employee, student, or other person. Mrs. Chaffee, how many speakers do we have signed up tonight?
We have 5 people signed up tonight.
Okay, 5 speakers. Each person will have 3 minutes to speak. Mrs. Chaffee, I would like to thank you for serving as the clerk, and I'd like to ask you to lead us through this agenda item, please.
I will call your names, and I'll call the first 3 and then let the next 2 know who's on deck. We'll start with Mark Kimball, then Jenny Richardson, and then Ray Deere. On deck, we have Ed Steele and Kelly Berg.
Good evening. My name is Mark Kimball. Good evening, Superintendent Forlis and Mesa School Board members. I'm here to voice the concerns of many in our community who feel unheard and undervalued. Technical issues with our virtual meetings have left us feeling excluded, especially given the district's alarming academic performance. Over 60% of third graders lack proficiency in ELA and math, and only 18% of high schoolers are proficient in Arizona science. These numbers show how we are failing our children's futures. Despite millions spent on salaries and billions on expenditures under current leadership, our return is dismal, a clear failure of accountability. The reliance on virtual meetings and AI feels like an attempt to avoid direct public engagement, fostering mistrust. After being unable to access the last virtual meeting, I emailed you these concerns, noting that parents and community members are tracking performance. I appreciate today's response, but more is needed. We're looking for more detailed information to collaborate effectively, which is in our parental rights statutes. We also have other legal framework provided to us as parents and guardians to engage in the process and the future education of our kids and grandkids. I'm representing many parents and community members who want clear answers and decisive action to improve student performance and restore trust. Parents and the community deserve better, and we will continue to be involved and monitor academic development closely. We look forward to the new leadership of Superintendent Strom and the opportunity of working together for the success of us all. And to continue, it's important, we're all on the same team, we want the same thing. We want the success of our kids, and we all know that there's room for improvement. We really request a decisive plan for this improvement in the proficiencies of our kids. It's very much a priority, and we really need laser focus on this. Dr. Forles, I do wish you the best in your retirement, and thank you for your service, and all of you for the job that you do. Thank you.
Hello, board and Superintendent Forles. This is my first call to the public. It's pretty exciting. But I just wanted to express my gratitude for the sacrifices that you all make as a board and for the hard work. Being a board member comes with a lot of pros and cons. There are some real highs. You get to see a firsthand seat at some of the really great things that happen in Mesa Public Schools. And it also comes with a little bit of a target on you. And I appreciate those who are willing to stand up and serve our community in that way. I believe that a board is better with a variety of opinions, where you can work together in a kind and considerate way to come to a good outcome. I know that is true, and I am thankful for the 5 of you being willing to do that and to engage with kindness in the things that you do. I especially wanted to thank Dr. Forles. Mrs. Hutchinson was correct. When Dr. Forles began, it was a hard time in Mesa Public Schools, and if you think things feel divided now, they were very divided then. And she had a big job, and she did it wonderfully. And her job was to unite people behind a common goal, to get people focused on our promise and to be willing to work and do things and have a vision for that. And she did a great job of that, and I am so grateful. As the mother and now grandmother of people in of children in Mesa Public Schools, my youngest will be a senior next year, and that feels hard to imagine because he was a kindergartner when I started on the board. And but I feel like there are people who don't understand all of the things that go into making choices that serve every student by strength and by need, and help them to fulfill their potential. And I appreciate you. And thank you for making it through another school year, the 90 days of May, and all that comes with it. And I just wanted to voice my appreciation for everyone who works for Mesa Public Schools. Thank you.
Good evening, Mesa School Board and Dr. Forles. I'm Ray Deere, parent of a MPS student and also community member. First, I'd like to congratulate Dr. Forles on her retirement. I've got to know Dr. Forles back in 2022, and she was very welcoming during that time, during my run here, and she was very cordial and respectful for all candidates. So I really appreciate that, making me feel at home here at Mesa Public Schools. Also, on a side note, because of Dr. Forles, my son, Nelson, he was recognized earlier, she took it upon herself to recognize him, and being state champ, she said, no, this has to be out there recognized, and I thank you for that, and my family does. So I wish you well, and my family, they're into the arts also and music, so I wish you well in your retirement.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Thank you. And also for Mesa Public School Board, I thank you for your willingness to serve, and also I can probably, if I would do some research, 100% of you ran on public safety, school safety, and I'd like to thank you. I brought some public safety issues to a particular school, and I'd like to thank you. You responded, and I may be doing some follow-up, but I thank you for taking public safety, school personnel, and especially for our students, their safety at the utmost, and I'm really grateful for that. One particular comment is, for suggestion, is for Mesa PD. They're our first responders, and they're at all our school sites. I would ask that Mesa Public continue to collaborate with Mesa PD. And they're the experts in first responding, and they're the experts in policing. And our school site leaders are there to collaborate and cooperate. So it's my wish that every school site leader would be able to collaborate and cooperate. I was a school teacher for almost 13 years. Part of those years was at Mesa Public Schools. And as a teacher, I was the expert in producing lesson plans, collaborating with other teachers, and making sure that the students had that agenda and were able to be schooled appropriately. Not once in my mind did I think, I'm going to tell the police officer what to do or how to police. I know we have to stay in our lanes, but there's collaboration also. So it's my hope that every school site leader would honor our first responders and take heed to their
Next, we'll hear from Ed Steele and Kelly Berg.
Good evening, members of the Board Superintendency. My name is Ed Steele. I'm a community member here, and Dr. Forlis, congratulations on your retirement. Enjoy it. Speaking from experience, after I retired, I have no idea how I had time to work. So I'm sure whatever you do, you'll find fulfillment in that, and I hope you do. Agenda item 8D, this course mojo. I have a compilation of concerns from a number of parents in this district about this program. The overarching part of this is that this decision does not need to be rushed. The process should include greater transparency to parents, and the MOU should include a statement for respecting parental rights under ARS 1-601. There are 5 key points that parents want to have debated before you sign this MOU. And here are the 5. I'm just going to outline them. Transparency in data collection and usage, opt-out or consent mechanisms, curriculum influence disclosure, parental access to the AI-generated insights, and regular review and feedback mechanisms. So I would ask that the board make a motion to suspend the vote on this to a later date until such time as parents' concerns can be properly addressed. The second item is 10A, the ASU Universal Learner course. This was brought up a few meetings ago, and there were, as I said at the time, a lot of great courses in there, and students should have access to that. But there are some courses that are of concern, specifically the ones that look sort of like DEI and activist training, to me anyway. When you start talking about how a slab of concrete that runs coast to coast marginalizes people and is affected by climate change, I don't think we need to be sending our kids to universities to learn this type of stuff. We were told that those were just sample programs and weren't the ones that were going to be included in this project. It would be good to know, for the board to know what they are actually voting on. It would be good for the community to know what the board is voting on. This is transparency, folks. And then real quick, no more virtual meetings, please. You engaged this Democracy Innovation Project a while back because you stated you wanted to better engage the community. You've taken away our picture by not having the camera on us. You've taken away our presence by having this virtual meeting, and then you take away our voice by having AI speak our comments.
Madam President, Superintendency, and board members, Kelly Berg, current but not for much longer MEA President. I will be finishing my term at the end of June, so just a couple of more weeks. I wanted to take a moment to speak to you about some stuff that you will be seeing this evening, one of them being the Teacher Evaluation Handbook. 3 years ago, we set out to bring the Teacher Evaluation Handbook into compliance and align the handbook more closely with the current practices. This iteration brings further clarification in the handbook and further streamlines the process. The biggest change is that all continuing status teachers will be evaluated on all 22 competencies. In the past years, teachers were on a 3-year cycle for all components. This year, we had to RIF 42 counselors and teachers, using the evaluation tool as a way to rank certified employees. Because not all teachers were evaluated on the same 22 components, it was extra difficult to determine who would be placed on the list. Hopefully, we will not need to RIF staff this coming year, but if we must, they are now going to be on equal ground for everyone. This process was done through collaboration with certified staff, administrators, and HR. Thank you.
Madam President, that concludes our public comment.
Thank you. Thank you all. We will now review the consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda are approved with one vote with no discussion. If a board member would like to pull a consent agenda item, please do so now. And I would just like to thank my board members for following the courtesy of informing the superintendent and myself to the intent to pull any consent agenda items by 12 o'clock of the day of the meeting. So thank you. Moving on to our personnel, do I have a motion to approve the personnel request, including the addendum?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Kirby, will you please take our vote? With a vote of 5 yeas, you have approved the personnel request, including the addendum. With this approval, we have 2 employees to recognize as in memoriam. And also at the May 27th meeting, we approved 2 incoming principals. So we will recognize those also tonight. So I'm going to turn the time to Dr. Forlis for just that.
Thank you very much, Madam President, members of the board. Our first in memoriam is Jessie Pomonis, a Red Mountain teacher. Jessie was a passionate educator who dedicated more than 20 years of her career to Mesa Public Schools, spending over a decade at Red Mountain High School. She poured her heart into teaching English and inspiring her students to think critically, express themselves confidently, and find their voices. Her classroom was a place where students felt seen, challenged, and supported. Her energy, creativity, and belief in student voice help build traditions that continue to define what it means to be part of the Red Mountain family, and she will be greatly missed. We're also recognizing Nicole Delgado as in memoriam, a social worker at Mesa High School. Nicole was passionate about supporting at-risk youth and adults, a mission that she pursued for more than 30 years, including 10 years here in Mesa Public Schools. Her commitment to the well-being of our students and families was evident in all that she did. She approached her work with empathy, professionalism, and a genuine desire to help others. She will be greatly missed by her Mesa High family, among many, many others. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Forlis, and our thoughts and go out to those families and those campuses.
And let's go meet some new principals. Join me in front of the dais. We're going to get started with Melissa Munoz. Will you please join me at the podium? It is my pleasure to introduce Melissa as the incoming interim principal at Highland Arts Elementary. Melissa is currently serving as the assistant principal at Fremont Junior High. Melissa began her career in education in 2010, teaching at O'Connor Elementary, where she was also a department chair. She has also served as a Title I specialist at Lehigh Elementary. Melissa has a Bachelor's of Science degree in elementary education with an emphasis in English as a second language from Northern Arizona University and a master's degree in educational leadership and innovation from Arizona State. Melissa, we are so proud of you and would like to congratulate you I know that you'd like to say a few words, and then we will join the governing board for a quick photo.
Good evening, board members and superintendency. I'm deeply honored and grateful to be named the incoming principal at Highland Arts. Thank you for placing your trust in me. This responsibility I hold with great pride and purpose. I want to take a moment to acknowledge the incredible mentors who have helped me shape my journey. Dr. Malawine, Principals Bruce Kosseboom and Principal Tasia Aline, your guidance, encouragement, and examples have been instrumental in preparing me for the next steps. To my parents who are here, thank you for instilling a love for Mesa and public education, for showing me the importance of giving back to the community that raises you. I carry those values with me every day. To my husband, thank you for always pushing me to believe in myself. And to my daughter, Lily, who's also a Mesa Public Schools student, you inspire me to see a world through a new lens, reminding me of the importance of compassion, curiosity, and joy in everything that we do. And to the Highland Arts community, I'm so excited to be part of your family. I'm looking forward to working alongside you as we continue to provide strong academic opportunities for our students. Thank you.
Next, I would like to invite Jennifer Radakovich to join me at the podium. Not too long ago, you got to welcome her sister into the principal role, so we're so lucky. I'm pleased to introduce Jennifer as the incoming interim principal at Sousa Elementary. Jennifer is currently serving as assistant principal at Highland Arts and Ishikawa Elementary Schools. Jennifer began her career in education in 2002, teaching at Ishikawa, then taught in the GUS program at Taft Elementary, where she also served as the Mesa Public Schools ASU Next Education Lead Teacher Committee, Taft Leadership Coalition, MTSS team, and the CARE team, just to name a few. Jennifer has a Bachelor of Arts in K-8 Elementary Education from Ottawa University and a master's degree in K-12 Educational Leadership from Northern Arizona University. I know you'd like to say a few words, Jen, so I'm going to let you step up and do that. And then do you have bring a crew?
I'm going to bring
We'll do the family and then, okay.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board, and superintendency for the opportunity to serve the staff, students, and community of Sousa. I'm super excited. As a proud product myself of Mesa Public Schools, I'm so proud to be part of a district that continues to put students first. I am truly grateful to everyone who has mentored and supported me, not only as my years as a student, but also throughout my career here in Mesa. To my family and friends, thank you for your constant love, support, and for always cheering me on. I am beyond excited to join the Sousa family, and I look forward to this next adventure with so much gratitude and enthusiasm. So thank you so much.
Your family up first, and you'll have the board join. Yes. You have to be. You're not going anywhere.
Thank you. We're going to get our steps in tonight going back and forth. So thank you. You're good. On to our consent agenda. All items will be considered as a group and will be approved with one motion. If a board member would like to spotlight or comment on a consent agenda item, please do so after the vote. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda according to the recommended action for each item?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Kirby, will you please take our vote? With a vote of 5 yeas, we have approved the consent agenda items according to the recommended action for each item. We are now going to our first read policies. Tonight we have the first read of 5 policy updates. The updates are aligned to the passage of House and Senate bills that updated Arizona revised statutes. The policy revisions were provided by the trust and reviewed by district leadership in preparation for this first read. When policies come to the board for a first read, it's an opportunity for the board to discuss the policy, and there is no vote. We'll start with policy 1-401, Parents, Legal Guardian Rights in Education. Ms. King, can you give us an overview of the update, and then I'll open the floor for board discussion.
Yes, thank you, President Davis, members of the board. Tonight, we will be having a first read of policies, revisions to policies 1401, regarding parent legal rights in education, policy 3403 on technology, policy 5305, which is the student code of conduct, policy 4204 on mandatory reporting, and policy 5303 on student records. Although the legislative session for 2025 continues, which is always a surprise, but the sessions have been going long the last couple years. The governor has signed several bills into legislation, and in order to get a head start, we are bringing you these recommended policy revisions in order to ensure that our policy manual fully aligns to state statute. These laws will go into effect 90 days after the end of the legislative session, which we don't know when that will be. So my recommendation will be that these do have an effective date of to be determined. Maybe by second read, we will have a better idea of when these will go into effect, but none of these have emergency clauses, so no requirement to have them effective July 1st. Rather than go policy by policy, since you aren't going to be voting, and because some of the bills affect more than one policy, I'd like to do an introduction more by bill than by policy, if that's okay with the board. Okay. So the first bill that impacts our policy manual was House Bill 2484, and this bill creates a new statute in Arizona Revised Statute. The new statute will be codified as 15120.05. And this statute requires school districts to restrict student access to wireless communication devices, including social media platforms, during the school day. So while we do have some flexibility, we are required to allow exceptions for emergency use, student medical needs, and certain educational purposes. So in order to address this new requirement, the trust is proposing revisions to policy 3403 and 5305, and you have been provided drafts of those policies where I've tried to really carefully outline where the changes are through strike-throughs and underlining and highlighting and all sorts of colors. The next bill is Senate Bill 1437, and this makes changes to two existing statutes. The first is ARS 133620, and Title 13 is the criminal code. And it also makes changes to 15514. And these are statutes that cover mandatory reporting requirements related to abuse of minors. So first, school district employees, which now by this statutory change includes substitute teachers and governing board members, who suspect or have received a report that a public school employee has engaged in conduct involving abuse or neglect of a minor, must make a report to law enforcement and to the Arizona State Board of Education. Second, conveying information about a mandatory report to a school resource officer will no longer satisfy the reporting requirement. Third, a school resource officer who receives a report will be required to immediately notify a law enforcement agency in the appropriate jurisdiction and submit all information to that agency for investigation. And fourth, the scope of involvement of school resource or school safety officers in student interviews will be governed by specific limits. And specifically, those interviews will need to be conducted by an individual who has gone through a forensic interview training. So in order to address these new requirements, we are proposing revisions to policy 4204 on mandatory reporting. And finally, House Bill 2514. This bill amends ARS 15102 and ARS 15142 and requires school districts to annually provide parents and guardians a copy of policy 1401 on parents and legal guardians' rights in education as a way of advising them of their rights as outlined in state law. In order to address this new requirement, the trust is proposing a revision to policy 1401. This bill also changes requirements regarding directory information designated under the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, FERPA. Under current law, schools may disclose directory information if the district has designated those items as directory information and offered parents, legal guardians / eligible students, which are students who've reached the age of 18, an opportunity to opt out of the disclosure. Once this law takes effect, districts can no longer disclose a student's address, telephone number, or email address unless that disclosure is required by state or federal law. The parents, legal guardians, or eligible student has provided affirmative written consent for that disclosure, or the parent, legal guardian, student has not exercised the right to opt out of the disclosure of directory information, and the disclosure is to students for an educational purpose or to staff for a school business purpose. I know that's a lot to wrap your mind around, but I think between policy and procedure, we've made it happen. Finally, the law reiterates the obligation under FERPA to annually notify parents, legal guardians, and eligible students of their right to opt out of disclosure of directory information. In order to address these new requirements, the Trust proposes revisions to Policy 5303 on student records. Any questions?
Thank you, Ms. King. Any questions, board members? How do you want to do questions? Do you want to go policy by policy, or just, we'll start with the first one and go through, does that work? Okay, so first, we'll start with policy 1-401, parents, legal guardian rights, and education. Any questions?
I have one. Number, and this is not a change, but I don't have any question about the changes that are recommended, which those are highlighted in yellow, I assume, right?
Yes.
So, but for number 3, bullet point number 3, it lists procedures by which parents or legal guardians who object to any learning material. No, that's not the one, sorry. Number 6. If there's a, where can number 6, bullet point number 6 is procedures for parents and legal guardians to learn about the nature and purpose of any clubs or activities that are part of the school and are extracurricular, part of the school curriculum. Where are those procedures located? Are they on each individual school website? Are they on the district website?
So there, we have a very comprehensive Mesa Public Schools student handbook that gives some general information about any topic you could think of. I'm going to look over at my colleagues who, the area assistant superintendents, are you able to answer the question about where parents can find more detailed information about clubs and activities?
So, Member Benson and Board, each individual school has outlined the clubs and activities that they have on their campus, but also within our student handbook, we outline clubs in there. So it's part of the, on our main website, we have a button to the student handbook, and within that it outlines parent rights and the responsibility of the teacher, and that students have the ability to access programs on their campus, and then it goes into the discipline matrix. So it's all comprehensive in that student handbook on our homepage.
Okay, but not each campus has the same exact number, same exact clubs, correct?
That is correct.
More differentiated on each individual school
Each
site?
individual school will then list what clubs they have on campus based on what sponsors they have for each club.
Okay, and elementary schools are limited in the clubs that they can have, correct?
They are limited because it has to be age appropriate, and all clubs need to have a staff sponsor on campus.
Okay, and then I do have a question on number 3. Where are the procedures by which parents can object to? Is that located on the district website? Is that on individual school sites?
To object to specific lessons,
Mhm.
harmful material, that is, the opt-out form is on the website.
What if they find out about an objectionable lesson post-lesson? What's the procedure for that? Do we have one? So let's say a teacher brings in material that we have not authorized as either supplemental material or it's not part of our district-approved material. They bring in something, and a parent finds out, I don't know, let's say it's saving the chocolate tree in wherever. So do you know what I'm saying? Like, it could be anything. Do we have a procedure for that?
So, Member Benson, I think what I'm hearing you say are two different things. So one is a procedure for if a lesson happens in class that the parent objects to that is approved by Mesa Public Schools. Every parent has the option to go to the classroom teacher and request an alternate assignment. And every teacher is required to do that for the parent that requests it. The second thing I hear you say is if a teacher uses material that's not endorsed by Mesa Public Schools, that's a completely separate situation, because then that would be something that would be handled by the site administrator if it's not appropriate.
Okay, so the parent would go directly to the building admin and say,
Right, the parent would first go to the teacher to understand what the assignment was, and then if the parent feels that that was not resolved with the teacher, then the parent would go to the admin on the campus, yes.
okay, thank you. And then I just have one comment as well, and board, you members, you can, we, under the portion that was changed is the copy of the policy. It says that we'll deliver it in either digital format or print. Just having had 4 children of my own that passed the age of probably past grade 5, if it was, I needed both options. A print that you're sending home, that may not make it, and a digital. So I don't think it would be a big issue to have both. Send it via email to parents or through our Parent Square and send a copy home to make sure that our parents have access to what our policy is.
Ms. King, can you help me just understand again? I know we had a conversation about the change in the language to why we were changing around digital and print, digital or print.
This is a change that was required by the legislature, I assume. And I am making an assumption that it was just for accessibility issues for people who have different needs for the medium in which they want to read these.
But it is changing to an or, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, and so I mean, I do, because of accessibility issues, we have some parents that don't like electronics. They don't look at email. And we have parents that want it in their hot little hand. So I don't think it would be a big issue to have us delivering our policy both ways.
This is just a question for information, please. When it says on second page, access to information, the availability of the educational teaching background, experience, and academic content subject areas for all instructional staff, where is that housed, that information?
I'm sorry, which
It's
number?
number 3 on
Number
the
three.
second page under access to information.
We have it's in our human
Oh,
resources
yes.
information system.
I'm sorry?
It's in our human resources information system.
So a parent could look up a teacher's name in the human resources part of the webpage?
No, our request would need to be made.
Oh, a request would need to be made.
Likely
from-
through
from-
public records request, something like that process. And human resources would obtain that information to share.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions on this policy? Okay. We will move to policy 3-403, technology. Any questions here?
I have questions for this policy as well. Under the subsection, let me find it. Where is it? Internet safety. Subsection 1 says internet access by staff or students to child pornography or visual descriptions that are obscene or harmful to others. We have to have a filtering mechanism for that. Is our filtering mechanism only filtering visual images, or does it also filter for obscene language, pornographic text? It does filter for both.
Yes, Member Benson, our filter is, it filters words. So if a student does a word search, they will get a response that says that you can't access this, and it's pictures as well as words.
Okay.
Do our students still have the ability to chat with each other through whatever system they're always working it around?
There is a chat mechanism in one of that has been an issue. It's what is it called?
What was Google? For my students, it was the Google chat thing, and also the WebEx.
We now use Teams, and there is not a student feature for chatting in Teams at this time. They might be using another tool that they have found, but our standard system is Teams, and students are turned off on Teams.
No, I really appreciate that clarification because I think it was
Yes.
WebEx that was the problem, and then when
It
we moved to
was.
Teams, it eliminated that issue.
We
So
learned.
we do. Thank you.
I have a question. Is it okay to ask? Thank you. I'd like to know, let's see, it's on the third page. There's the bold print that is highlighted yellow, the district shall restrict student access to social media. In that paragraph, it says that the district shall monitor online activities and provide instruction about appropriate online behavior, including interacting with other persons on social networking websites and in chat rooms regarding cyberbullying awareness and response. Where is this instruction taking place? Is it taking place within content areas, or is there at the beginning of school an introductory to technology? Can you tell me how the instruction is being delivered, please?
Yes, Member Hutchinson and members of the board, during the first few weeks of school, teachers have lessons that they go through with their students, and then they actually have to sign off that has been done. And then we've also embedded technology standards, appropriate use, et cetera, through content areas, through lessons that happen in our resource center at the elementary level, et cetera. And so it's embedded throughout. And we continue to update lessons incorporated into like our K-12 college community readiness framework.
Yeah.
So it's embedded all throughout because technology access happens everywhere.
Right.
But formally, it is at the beginning of the school year.
Great. Because I was thinking about our new social media course and how that was a real selling point for me, that kids were learning how to use various platforms responsibly. But I was wondering how we were handling those folks those kids that aren't taking that course. So thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Along those lines, will we have something that goes out to parents along these lines that the district will be monitoring these activities so that parents, I think, too, will sign up? At the beginning of the year, we sign off on our code of conduct or student code of conduct. I think adding something in so everyone's aware of these new policies. Hopefully I think there is a reason to get some of these through by the beginning of the school year so that as we're getting ready to start the new year, that we can start off on the same foot and with the right information, so we're not mid-semester changing our policy on technology, especially. But just a thought as we look at these. I know it's going to be tricky for these teachers to monitor some of this, so
yes,
Under the parental notification, parents will also be notified of their right to prohibit the student from the use of technology and the internet while at school, in which covered information may be shared with an operator. This is a data sharing clause, I assume.
Oh.
Pursuant to law as defined in blah, blah, blah. It does not apply to technology that is used for the daily operations or administration of the online instructional programs. So it was my understanding earlier in the year, it was determined parents cannot opt out of their students using the computer and technology because so much of what we do is. So they do have the ability to opt out if we're using an operator or a system that is going to data mine, correct?
Correct.
And do we have any of those situations? Do we know? Do you know of any operators that currently do? I mean, we actively in our memo of understandings try to limit and prohibit that, correct?
Yes, and we've worked with all of our vendors over the course of the last 2-3 years to ensure they sign on to our DSAs. And if they're not willing to sign on to our DSAs, we don't do business with them anymore.
Okay.
Is that where the question's centered?
Yeah, well, because parents have the option of, by law now, they have to be able to. So I want our community to know that we are proactive in that, I believe.
Very,
Right.
very proactive.
Okay.
And to be frank with you, there are some educational tools that we'd like to take advantage of, but because they won't sign off on our data standards, we don't do business with them, even though they have pretty good products. So yeah, we're very active in ensuring that the protection of data at the Mesa Public Schools level is important to our constituents.
Any other questions on technology? Okay, we'll move on to policy 5-305, student code of conduct. Any questions?
Madam President, I just had kind of a question. This policy includes also a procedure that talks about how this is implemented in our K through 6 and our 7 through 12. So I want to make sure that board members kind of scroll down and look through that. And the one thing I hear over and over again by teachers and substitutes is, please help us with the cell phones. It's so hard, it's so distracting, and it's hard to enforce, it's hard to feel supported. And so I want to make sure that we're not putting the burden on our teachers only, that they are feeling supported by their administration. And I feel like we may need stronger language in this, because I really want as a board that we reflect on how we can better support teachers and classroom learning through this policy and this procedure, because this is what our teachers are really asking for.
Board Member Chaffee, I couldn't agree with you more. Number 30, when we talk about no wireless devices being used during the school day, the enforcement is going to be key. And we heard that from our kids, whether they were junior high or high school kids during the Hacktivate process, that the consistency of enforcement is essential. And we also heard it from our parents, from the Parent Advisory Council, and we had a rather robust discussion about the responsibility of parents in helping to enforce these policies. What I'm concerned about is not only enforcement, and I don't want it on teachers, but I don't know how we're going to avoid that. But in the procedures, if we're saying, and this is in bold print, that wireless devices, wireless communications devices, the school day, which includes meals, passing periods, recess, except as permitted in procedures 5-305.A. But in the procedures, we do allow it. So, based on the school. So, I'm concerned that we may be contradicting the policy with the procedure. And particularly, maybe I'm smarting still from the way that graduation protocols were interpreted by various high schools. I think we're setting ourselves up for some real tension that wouldn't necessarily need to be there if we completely leave it up to the schools. I like, that we don't have a district that believes in cookie cutter policies. However, something as serious as this, where we have had our students engaged, our parents engaged, our staff engaged, and this is a community issue. So, number one, enforcement, but then number two, if we're going to have different permissible behaviors on various campuses, it's going to be really hard to enforce. I think it's going to be even harder to enforce. So I would really prefer that with the procedures that we have a little bit more continuity, commonality, so that we're clear as even board members visiting schools, we see a cell phone out. Is that kid in violation or not? And I can really see a policy that is very well-meaning. And I think we heard from our kids. They just tell me what the rules are and let them be enforced consistently, and I'll do it. I get it, because we had robust discussion on the problems of devices. I really wish that we were more consistent, more standard in the policy. And my last comment is, it says the school day is when kids are at school. Maybe we ought to say, maybe, bell to bell or something like that. I like the idea of a bell is when school starts, and a bell is when every kid knows when that bell rings, that school's ended. Boom. Okay? So I would like to have a little bit more robust discussion, maybe some input, maybe from the Hacktivate kids, maybe even from the parent group, or at least go review those notes on how we are going to enforce this.
Other questions?
I just have a comment with the procedures too, and I'm open for changing the procedures for consistency. I know that that's not really our purview though in changing them, but we're asking superintendency. I do think maybe there needs to be a footnote or like a little addendum that, in really rare instances, because since I've been on the board, there's been 2 where students got out their phone and filmed something in class for behavior that was highly inappropriate, and I think everyone agreed that it was, but maybe just a caveat about safety or a lesson that they feel violates, their rights or their beliefs, that, and they have to get a record of that because there's no evidence otherwise. But maybe I think if a student's in a situation and they're like, this lesson is really upsetting me, that I don't think that student, if they start filming the lesson, should be penalized for getting their phone out to do that. So I think that might be something that we add as some kind of addition to the procedures. I would just hate to see a student who feels threatened then also be penalized for trying to stand up for wanting to get documentation that they're threatened, or they're something inside them tells them this is really wrong or this is really inappropriate.
And I echo that along that lines also with our, on the back of some of our schools, IDs on when they feel threatened or there's something going on, say someone's fighting or vaping or something like that, and they need to report it. Those are other instances that we need to make sure we keep in as we make these changes.
Yeah. I mean,
we're
safety
covering.
is a priority, and it's uncommon for the district, right? So it's not like a pervasive problem, and that's right. It's rare. But I just think about a student, wouldn't want them to then be penalized for speaking up for themselves. But I mean, it's more common in other districts. I do think that it's still like what goes on in the classroom is still a topic of national concern, because we continue to be inundated with news articles of wild things coming out from different schools or districts. But that's also an argument on why teaming is good too, because then you have 3 teachers in a classroom. There's more accountability there. So I think we're addressing it, but I would like to see, again, we don't vote on the procedure, but I think that would be a good protection in there.
Mm-hmm. Well, and Member Walden, then there's a section under here. It says a student shall not record or transmit speech or other communication of other persons without the person's express consent. We'd have to make a modification of that, right? And actually, Arizona is a single recorder state. I don't think I'm saying that accurately, but legally you can record somebody without their permission. So what you're saying is if a student is in the middle of a lesson that is objectionable or inappropriate comments by a teacher, they're recording it, technically that would violate this section of the policy right here.
I mean, yeah, I
Just
guess.
see what I'm saying? So
yeah, but I don't think it's like pervasive enough that we have to change the policy. I think overall we want to respect people's privacy on campus
Correct.
too. But that's where I think it's something that could be added to the procedure.
Yeah. The concern that I have also regarding phones is I'm kind of torn on it because of what Member Walden just said. We have, across the country seen some really crazy things happen in classrooms because kids had cell phones. However, one of the reasons the district allowed cell phones out when they first came out, and especially with smartphones, is because it was an issue of making sure that all students had access to the internet, right? Well, now we have one-to-one devices. There really is I can't think of an educational purpose for a student having to have access to their cell phone during class because we have one-to-one devices. At the elementary level, they're on computer carts. At the junior high and high school level, they're actually one-to-one devices. So the whole reason that historically the district allowed phones out was so that if a family couldn't afford a laptop that had internet access, but they had a smartphone, that was the solution to that. So I think that should be within our procedures as well. I don't see any reason for it. And we heard from the Hacktivate kids, there's got to be consistent follow through across the district. I love the fact that the junior high were intermingled because I think it was very eye-opening to them that, here we have this issue in our policy and our student code of conduct, but it's not actually enforced universally across the district. And I'm a big proponent, if you're going to have a policy, if you're going to have a rule, it should be enforced. And it should be enforced. To me, it doesn't matter what the demographic is, right? And in that note, are we done with cell phones? Because I have a different question about the student code of conduct. Well, we're on student code of conduct. So under number 26, it's the tobacco, cigarettes, and vaping, and we've added any nicotine product. How is that going to be enforced?
That was in the legislation though, right? Like that's not us adding it, that's the state.
Well, I know,
Is that
but
correct?
we have to add it to our policy.
Yeah, no, we have-
Compliant.
Yeah, this was a trust recommendation.
Oh, it's a trust
As a,
Because my understanding, a nicotine product is like a piece of gum or something. Like there's no smell to it. There's no physical evidence that you, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I don't access it myself, but that's my understanding.
it's just a recommendation. The board is not interested in that. You can.
Well, I just don't see how we're going to enforce it.
Well, that's where if it's just a recommendation, I'm not interested then, because I agree with you. How are you going to enforce it? Like, and if some kid has a patch on their arm, like, maybe there's a medical reason someone has a patch on their arm, are we going to question patches or question gum?
I mean, e-cigarettes make sense to me because that has a physical, you can see it. But, I mean, these nicotine things, it looks like a container of gum. So a kid just has to put it into a container of gum and you're not going to know the difference. So if we're going to have a rule, it needs to be something that we can enforce and follow through on. Because otherwise we're just teaching kids that rules don't really matter. And we all know students are going to try and push it, so.
I mean, I took this as just an attempt to be comprehensive.
Right.
What do you guys think?
Well, I was just going to add, if you had a student though that, they got in trouble or caught with other paraphernalia and that was included in there, so they would be okay if they had that in their pocket, if it was labeled and they knew it was, that would be okay, but the other stuff wouldn't. I think that's where it might get a little, at least we're covered if we have all of those items listed and the student gets, in trouble for a vape and then they pull out of their backpack 3 vapes and a nicotine, pack of gum that's labeled. Or chew.
Was it illegal for minors to have nicotine?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Well, I didn't. My kids are all adults now.
Well, yeah, but we have students that are 18 in high school.
I mean, we are allowed to make it not allowed in a public school setting, even if an 18-year-old is legally allowed to possess nicotine, we can still prohibit it in school. Right, we do, exactly. Yeah.
I think for me, I feel like I appreciate that I understand the point about vagueness, but I think that having a more comprehensive language in there makes sense for this.
Yeah, with Board Member Benson, I agree. I think it's going to be impossible to enforce, and then you have something that is like, it's never going to come up because you can't enforce it. So,
Board members, if I could add a comment.
yeah.
Nicotine products are ever changing, and we don't know what the future holds for nicotine products. We've listed what we know now, but we could find out next week that a new product is out there. So by having nicotine product in there, it covers us for anything new that might pop up that we aren't able to name right now because we don't know what it is.
Yeah. This is something where if, somebody's caught with like cigarettes or e-cigarettes, like I think that's what you were talking about, Madam President, that there's like lesser offenses and then the school can determine if they want to like go whole hog on charging offenses versus just charging on the main things. It would just be included with other things. I don't know.
So if I can add to that, Member Walden, our discipline matrix outlines how to handle tobacco products, how to handle nicotine, how to handle e-cigarettes, how to handle drugs versus tobacco. So it's not a guessing game for the schools. They would go and find the violation in the discipline matrix and then find the line item that describes the offense that's been committed, and then they can move forward with a consequence there.
Okay. All right. That's what you meant by the multiple offenses. Okay.
All at the same time is what you're talking about, right?
Yeah, yeah. Like, so if you had, if they found a vape, other products, then they would be accountable for all those different things.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
No, I think just for me, I'm not willing to move forward with this policy until we clear up some of that procedure that's connected to student technology use.
And hearing that the board has some concerns about the procedure, that's why we, let you have it for context. And please, I ask that you provide any feedback, either through Ms. Kirby, through Dr. Strom, and I will make sure that the area assistant superintendents have a chance to process your feedback, and then we can bring you a different version with some of your comments and some of your input incorporated. Because ultimately, our procedures are intended to implement your policies. So,
thank you. We'll move.
Madam President, I have one
Sorry.
more.
Yep. go
I
ahead.
have one more comment on student, I think it's under student code of conduct. How, under the plagiarism and I think it's under plagiarism, we're adding AI. I don't know where it is. 17. How, do we have a procedure or how are we actually, are we training teachers on how to identify material that has been created by AI? Because it's quite stellar, generally speaking. So how are we actually able to, again, enforce this and recognize that students that have used AI to write their essay for them or whatever?
Member Benson and members of the board, we actually have, especially at the secondary level, tools within our adopted resources that help teachers recognize plagiarism. And then we also have professional learning for teachers in regard to generative AI and its uses and implementation. And part of that covers how to recognize those kinds of issues.
Any other questions on? Okay, we will move to policy 4-204, mandatory reporting. Any questions?
I have two. Mrs. King, can you provide maybe some context for why board members are now included in the legislation And then secondly, since we cannot report to an SRO, who exactly can we report to, seeing that Mesa Public Schools is in so many various jurisdictions?
That's a great question. I did actually do some research into the legislative history of this bill, and there was not a lot of explanation for why, at this point in time, substitute teachers and governing board members were added. But I can only imagine that it was not clear before that district employees included those two groups. And again, I'm guessing, but as you know, you receive a lot of phone calls and emails and texts from community members and staff members. And I think because the reporting of suspected abuse or neglect of children in Arizona is such a fundamental concern, that we want to make sure that anybody who might be part of the lives of a child knows of their obligation. Your question about jurisdiction, typically we have some schools that are fall within the Chandler Police Department's jurisdiction, some within Mesa, and we do have 3, I believe, county schools within county islands, which fall within the jurisdiction of Maricopa County Sheriff's Office. And I would say just do your best. If you contact a police department in the wrong jurisdiction, I'm hopeful, and Sergeant Lyons can correct me if I'm wrong, they will direct you to the appropriate jurisdiction.
So it's where is it where the child lives? Is it where the child goes to school?
It's my
Where the
understanding
abuse
is
took
where the
place.
abuse took place.
Where the abuse took place.
So
Yeah.
it could actually be Phoenix.
Yeah.
Not a.
And sometimes you might not know. Sometimes a child might disclose some information to you, and you might not know what city or county. Sergeant Lyons, sorry to put you on the spot, but if a mandatory report is made, and it turns out that, is it where the abuse took place? Is that the police department? And if you aren't sure, can you call any police? Any police department? Okay.
And then we will work with the agency where the alleged crime occurred and
So being reasonable and making a report to a police jurisdiction within Arizona, as long as our board members, if they make a report to Mesa Police and it turns out the abuse took place even in a different county.
Exactly, yeah. If we have, a lot of our schools have Smith Junior High School, for example, has students that live in Mesa and they have students that live in Mesa. So if abuse is alleged to have occurred, then they can certainly report it to the Mesa Police Department, and then we will establish and determine where the incident actually happened. It happened in the county islands, we will contact Maricopa County, and then they'll do their investigation.
Thank you.
Yeah, any jurisdiction that is contacted or something like that.
Okay, thank you.
Mrs. King, is this a change that, for clarification's sake, I thought if you had suspicion of abuse, you contacted CPS and they contacted law enforcement? Is this a change? Do you know? That's what I,
The statute.
that's what I remember.
Yeah,
when-
the statute provides several different scenarios. So if you suspect that the abuse or neglect was inflicted upon the child by a family member, you would want to contact law enforcement and the Department of Child Safety. If the abuse was alleged to have been committed by someone who is not a family member, then you would contact law enforcement. If you believe the abuse was committed by a district employee, then you would contact law enforcement and the Arizona State Board of Education.
And mandatory reporting is specifically for cases of abuse, not, for example, if we think a teacher has given a lesson that violates the parental rights. That is not a mandatory reporting situation, correct?
It's suspicion, reasonable suspicions of child abuse or neglect.
Okay, thank you.
And also, if I may, Madam President, there will be training for all governing board members to get all of this information as part of this legislation that goes in, that drives our policy.
Yes, and that is conducted for all district staff and will be in the future conducted for all board members annually.
Thank you.
And that's at the beginning of every year, isn't it?
Correct.
Yeah.
Any other questions on this one? Okay, we will go down to policy 5-303, student records. Any questions here? Okay.
Can I ask one?
yes,
I'm
go ahead.
sorry.
You're
I'm
good.
sorry.
Nope.
Okay, so if I'm looking at the change of language here, is directory information designated by the district?
Yes.
The district determines what directory information is?
That's correct.
Got it, okay. That was my question.
And I
just
think
wanted
it's really important to point out, you may have noticed in the accompanying procedure that we are proposing to remove from the definition of directory information students' address, phone number, and email address to avoid any confusion and
Right.
enable us to implement this new statute with a lot less confusion.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions on this one? All right, thank you, Ms. King, for your help through that. We will continue on now to action items. Sorry, let me get. We will first start with action item A. Do I have a motion to approve the Memorandum of Understanding, MOU, Course Mojo?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion on this?
So I had some questions that I brought up with the district that I kind of wanted to ask here, but then also I did want to address the questions we've gotten from the community about this. So I had, looking for the email, I had asked a couple questions about, because so going back, this was a supplemental material that the board approved last month. And then it seems like we have a supplemental material, but it's complicated and AI is needed to use this supplement. And is that why this is coming back to the board for vote, is because of the AI component?
No, in May, you approved the supplemental resource list. This action item is to recommend approval for a partnership with this company and accept funds. We wouldn't actually interchange funds, but they would be paying for these licenses to use this supplemental resource. So if not approved, then teachers or the district or whoever would be using that supplemental resource would incur a fee. This is allowing us to receive funds to implement these resources at Smith and Rhodes, who are two of our comprehensive support schools that were identified by the State Department.
So the board really isn't approving, we're not technically approving the use of this, we're approving the agreement so that the district isn't charged a fee. So the district could use this whether the agreement's approved or not?
That is correct.
Okay. And then, so one of the questions I had was that it feels like maybe the supplemental, maybe this resource is a little too difficult? And is it really the appropriate resource for these schools? And I was wondering if you could speak to that about the need to identify learning gaps.
Yes, Member Walden and members of the board, this tool is really a support tool that uses a variety of vendors that in our case, in the secondary level, 6 through 8, we have HMH as our approved resource for English language arts. And that is one of the vendors that this tool coordinates with. And what it does is it personalizes learning for the learner, and it allows the teacher to, for example, if she or he is working with a small group of learners and there are other learners working in small groups or individually, it provides additional support for those learners if they're having difficulty with complex text, or it might be providing feedback to those learners while the teacher is working with another group of students. So it accelerates engagement. And so, for example, if there was a student or a group of students who are working in their English language arts materials, and they would have to essentially wait for the teacher to come over when that teacher was done with that small group or another student, and provide that feedback right away. So it's accelerating learning and engagement for learners. It also helps teachers to differentiate instruction, provides them with exemplar units and questions and those kinds of things that, again, saves time for the teacher.
So what kind of data collection occurs in order for this sort of review to happen?
So with this agreement, just like any vendor that we use, as we talked about with some of the policy review, our policy 3-402 addresses all of the data sharing agreements, data privacy. So this is really a walled garden is what it's called whenever there's AI involved in our educational settings. We want to use walled gardens because then the privacy, the data, all of that is safe within our own environment.
So, and this is really like looking at learning gaps. I understand we have the data collection, but it's not going to be collecting data that's like makes the child like it's not personally identifiable data, or it's if it's just related to curriculum.
It's really, it's utilizing our approved resources and helping teachers to identify much more quickly which students are getting feedback based on their responses. However they're writing, they might get feedback. If they are having trouble with complex text or whatnot, the teacher then will know right away and how to adjust his or her instruction.
Okay, so we already have the policies in place that protect the data and describe our use of data. And with this one, so it's helping that with that identification for the learning. So is it something that is going to get stored for a long-term period? Like, so the data that's collected, it sounds like it has results in real time. Is there any mechanism of storing this information?
I would have to go back to our expert on the data sharing and data privacy agreements, that we follow all of the requirements regarding that. So as far as storage, I don't know how long that might be. But again, it's all protected within our own system and for the purposes of teacher use.
Okay. Are there other districts that are using this, or are we piloting it?
Yeah, there are other districts that use it across the nation.
Okay. And do we have any idea of what their data looks like from that about the success or benefits of this program?
I don't have that with me right now, but I can certainly access that for you. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
With artificial intelligence integration in a school systems, the most difficult part at the stage we're living in right now is, there's short-term effects. Let's go to preschool education. There's short-term effects of preschool education. There's long-run effects of preschool education. And to understand the long-run effects, you often have to have that data play itself out over the course of several years. And we're just too early on in the integration of AI to understand whether the learning outcomes in the current year, first of all, are effective, because we're just in the initial stages of artificial intelligence in public school system nation, let alone the ongoing effects, the year 3, year 4, year 5 effects of artificial intelligence integration. That's why it's so important to make sure we have a closed environment or a walled garden so that our data doesn't become something part of a comprehensive analysis and it's only internal to ourselves.
Yeah, because I think that's the big concern, right? Is that like in today's world, we're all products, so to speak. On everything we use, we become the product, and so that's good. We can say, yeah, we're keeping it in the district because there's a lot of people, and I think I'm one of them that doesn't really want people across the nation using my child's information to make money off of and create programs and stuff. So, would you call that the walled garden? I feel like I haven't heard
The IT term that is used a lot as a closed environment. The ed tech term that we hear a lot is a walled garden.
A walled garden. No, I like that.
One other comment is after 13 years teaching mathematics in the classroom, formative assessment, like true formative assessment, isn't the practice of collecting short Quizlets on kids of 5, 4, 3 questions. True formative assessment is understanding exactly what that kid's thinking at the exact right point in time to ask the exact right question to get them to understand how to build that mental map in their mind of what's going on. And so that is kind of a little bit of a promise of AI if we can get home with this one-on-one tutoring type situation where we understand based on the way the kid's responding to a certain problem set that they're trying to encounter, whether that's history or English language arts, exactly where their mind's at, because there's a large enough data set within Mesa Public Schools where we can go, oh, that kid's experiencing the same learning point that thousands of kids prior have experienced. And so this question is the one that's the highest efficacy of getting that kid over that hump and creating that mental map. And it's very difficult in a classroom of 1 to 30 to do that with really high efficacy, because when you have small groups running, it's difficult to understand where every kid's at every moment in time in the learning that they're trying to build in their own mind. So, this is one of the reasons a pilot is so important, and we want to understand whether it has the true effect we want before rolling it out throughout the district.
This did seem to garner some community interest, and so is this something that we could table to vote on until the next meeting and maybe come up with like a frequently asked questions link, or just maybe like a one-pager FAQ? Here's the safeguards or the guardrails on how like we use AI in the district or how it could be used, because I understand the concerns, and then on the other hand, we also are charged with, we've got to get the proficiency rates up, and if this is a faster, better way to do it, like we need to be open to tech. So I think, like, I understand what you're saying, we have these different policies, but the general public doesn't always know and understand like how to piece together the safeguards, and maybe we could just present that. And it's summer, so I'm thinking if we delayed it one meeting, we might still be okay.
Yes, I absolutely think that's possible, certainly.
Well, and can I add in, Madam President? Like, one of the concerns from the community and the constituents is and I'm going to kind of piggyback on what you just said, Dr. Strom. It's the conditioning of the mind, right? The pinpointing, the way you described it, is understanding exactly where in the learning map, right? The community is concerned about that in terms of leading not the how to think, but the what to think, because AI responds, and most of AI currently is developed by people that are on the left side of the aisle. So we've seen examples in the broader community of, asking for, an image of whatever. And the language that is used and the material that is presented is not unbiased, and it's not neutral. I think if it were neutral, I don't think the community would have too much of an issue with that, right? If it is strictly, hey, they don't understand the word, hypertension, that's different, right? So that is one of the primary concerns that I've heard from community members is, how is this, because AI, and honestly it can be a great tool. However, it can also become a crutch, and it can become a way to shape the thinking, the what to think, rather than the here is how you think. That is a huge concern. And so that I would go along with Member Walden's suggestion that we table the vote on Course Mojo until school's not starting until July 31st. I can't believe it's that early. But I would go along with that.
Madam President, I move that we do I need to rescind the previous motion? I move that we table this until the next meeting. I don't know, Mr. Thompson, what we do procedurally at that point.
Technically, when you're tabling, you are deferring to the next meeting. If you postpone, then you either set the date or you're postponing indefinitely. So if you intend to bring it back in the next meeting, you can just table the motion.
I motion to table this.
And I just wanted to ask, is the next meeting? Oh, I'm sorry. Let me get you the motion first. I'll second.
Okay, we got a second.
Is the next meeting enough of a time frame to develop or write up a FAQ document?
Yes, if I could get some specific questions through President Davis, that would be great, and I could bring those back. And then that, if it were approved that evening, based upon the information you received, then that would give us some time to still work with the agreement and get students rostered, et cetera, and all the things that would have to happen before school starts.
Okay, thank you.
So, Madam President, we can forward the email with the concerns that Mr. Steele mentioned earlier, correct?
Yeah, if you'll
To
send.
give to.
Yeah, if you'll send an email, and then I'll get that to Dr. Islas.
Now, do we have to vote to table?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, Ms. Kirby, will you please take our vote? Sit.
Mrs. Benson votes in the affirmative. I don't have anything on my.
With a vote of 4 yeas, 1 nay, we have tabled this discussion for the MOU for Course Mojo. We will now move along to action item B. Do I have a motion to approve the additional Arizona State University Universal Learner Course, ULC Intergovernmental Agreement?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Seconded.
Any discussion?
Yes. I have a young lady who reached out to me today, and she asked about 2 courses specifically that we do not have listed on the MPS ASU connection. And first off, to allay the concerns of others, the only courses that our MPS students are going to be able to register for are the ones that actually coincide with our standards and high school graduation, and that are on the list that you provided, correct? That they can do during our time.
That is correct. During our time, students always have, any member of the community has access to ASU ULC learner courses, but the ones that are on this list would allow us to move forward in defining the logistics and standard operating procedures for how students would enroll and register, and the fee as referenced in the memo, et cetera.
Right, so on their own, they could register for any of the issues at any time, but the ones on our campuses are only going to be limited to this and to the, so the 2 courses, let me pull it up, is HST 109 is the American History course, and it is an identical course to the junior year requirement for American History. It is not on the list that our MPS students could take. And the second is POS 110, which is American Government and Politics through ULC, is the identical course to the senior year required U.S. Government and Economics / Government and Politics. So I told her I would mention those and bring those forward. If they are aligned with what we're teaching, then we should add them to our list.
Yes, right now we wanted to start small. Like other districts, there are some districts that are, for example, one of our neighboring districts only has access to CTE courses. We wanted to provide a little bit broader list that aligns to our standards, supplemental to what we offer on our campuses, as well as student interest in terms of our college career academies, et cetera. And so, because this is a new endeavor for us, if you do approve this agreement tonight, that it allows our team to start working with the school sites as well as with ASU on all of the procedures for that. And then we would look to, if needed, to expand in the future. But right now we want to start small and ensure that we get it right.
So is it a possibility for you to look at those two courses that I just
Absolutely.
mentioned
Mhm.
that if we vote on this tonight, we're not specifically voting on this list of courses, but the memorandum that we can go forward, is there a possibility that those two courses can be added for this coming up school year?
Well, let me address for this upcoming school year first. The action item on the table tonight is to approve this agreement, which allows us to engage in with ASU on the consolidated pricing. So that $250 flat fee versus that $400 that was on the last agreement. And then the courses obviously would continue to change, and we would be looking at those annually, just like we do our course catalog. But if this is approved this evening, it will take us probably the whole first semester next year, and maybe longer, depending on getting all of the logistics together. We want to make sure we've got the enrollment, the procedures for payment, the flat fee, et cetera. So we're hoping we might be able to launch by second semester, but that we know for sure first semester we're going to be working on all of the logistics. We wanted your approval first before we move forward.
Right. That makes sense. So those two can be added though for her, that she might be able to take.
Continue to find crosswalks.
And they can take these courses in the summer at the $250 rate too, right? Or does it have to be during the school year?
We would, again, that would be part of the logistics. We would want to
Okay.
look at, some of these are offered session-based, which is the ASU session, and and so we'd have to align those with our sessions, et cetera. Some of them are on demand. It really depends on what the courses are, if they're concurrent, if they're dual enrollment, et cetera.
If we had a student, or if there are other students that came forward and there wasn't something that was listed, is it something that we would look at considering to add to the list and then that be brought back for us to know? Okay.
Board Member Davis, if I could just make a quick comment. This is no different than the college articulation process for transfer credits, in that a title doesn't tell us necessarily what's taught in the course. And so while people may say, oh, that's pretty much this course, like the political science course out of ASU, the economics that are in that political science course may not align at all with the economics we teach at the high school level. So we've openly welcomed students and families bringing courses in ULC to us to examine, but it's no different than why ASU may not accept from a university on the East Coast a transfer credit for calculus when a student on the East Coast took calculus for engineering and they want it to apply in a math calculus class, a theoretical calculus class. It just doesn't articulate well based on what was taught in the course. And that does take work. That takes resources and work to examine syllabi at that level, which is the work that Dr. Isas's department does. So once again, this gets into administration and work and all those things that it takes to get all this accomplished in the articulation process.
Right, and having been an AP teacher, I got the same email from the student. Not all departments at each university accept a grade and determine how much credit. There is a lot behind the scenes, and I would agree, simply because a course has the same title Doesn't mean it's got the same content. Doesn't mean it's got the same resources. Doesn't mean it's got the same rigor. Doesn't mean it's got the same type of standard that we want our kids to have, that we determine as a board is a standard for graduation. So I totally agree with you that there is a lot more articulation that has to occur before we can start equating almost like a dual enrollment credit, if you will. So I appreciate the explanation, because I think, I very much appreciate her question. I think it's really valid, but a student doesn't understand just how much articulation there is between universities and high schools and the accreditation that has to take place. But it certainly shouldn't preclude accepting the agreement.
No, I wouldn't preclude it. I do think it's good for our students to hear that we're willing to listen to them and say, oh, is this a course that, if it benefits them, if we are living into our promise, then for students to understand that we as adults are listening to them when it comes to their college careers, I think that's really beneficial for them.
For sure, yes.
I have a couple more questions. Is this only for, is the ULC only for ASU credit, or is it transferable?
So this specific agreement is for Arizona State University. It would be up to other universities if a student were, they would earn the credit at ASU, and then they would have to investigate and work with their counselors on the articulation or acceptance from other universities.
Perfect. Warning, then. Thank you.
Correct.
Thank you very much. Also, another question is, what possibly could be the impact on the Mesa College Promise? Because if the student is getting university credit, does that then knock them out of contention for the Mesa College Promise?
Yes, every situation is unique. And again, that goes back into why we want to make sure we've got standard operating procedures and we're working with our counselors so that they understand how that all works. So, yes.
And have we determined that this type of college credit, which is generally a 3-credit course, would equal one of ours? Is that correct?
For dual enrollment, yes.
Got it. Thank you.
Or, yeah, bringing in credit.
Madam President, a couple questions. So these classes are taught asynchronously through ASU. Will a Mesa Public Schools teacher be guiding students through these courses, or will students be learning independently in these courses?
So again, it depends. For example, in dual enrollment, it could be one of our teachers that's working with the ASU content. If for example, we have a dual enrollment course that's offered at one of our schools, but maybe another high school doesn't have a highly appropriately certified teacher to teach that dual enrollment course, then it would be the ASU instructor who would be teaching that course with support either from ASU and or our own staff. There are asynchronous courses and opportunities where it might be an individualized situation where a student's taking it on their own time, or it might be part of their schedule where, again, there might be support. So there's a lot of different situations and contexts for which they might be able to access these courses, which we're excited about because it provides a lot of different access for students.
Thank you. Just one other question, Dr. Islas. Do any of these courses meet Mesa Public Schools graduation requirements for non-elective courses?
Yes, there will be some, of course, on the list that will meet that. Yes, I had to think about the question.
Awesome.
Sorry.
No, that would be great to see, I think, for us to be able to see those broken down. Thanks.
Well, and from our discussion last time, this is actually potentially going to broaden kids' dual enrollment opportunities because we don't always have a Mesa teacher who is dual certified.
Absolutely.
So therefore, we can use the ASU person in lieu of.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, first just want to commend everybody for getting the fee down from $400 to $250. So thank you for your efforts with that. And I believe it was 2 meetings ago when this was up and we talked about that the full Mesa course list would be brought to the board in a future meeting, correct?
Yes, and that's the list we brought this evening.
Okay. Yeah, and that's what Sharon clarified is just, that is just for our students in Mesa but on their own, they can obviously do whatever they want.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, Ms. Kirby, will you please take our vote? With a vote of 5 yeas, you've approved the additional Arizona State University Universal Learner Course ULC Intergovernmental Agreement. Now moving on to C. Do I have a motion to approve the MPS 25-26 high school and junior high school course catalog revisions?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Only, how will parents know about the revisions? Are they sent electronically? Are they, because I assume we're not going to reprint.
Correct. We won't reprint the catalogs, but we make those changes online.
Useless, are parents notified of that? Like, are we going to send an email out, hey, course catalogs have been?
Yes, I would say specifically with like the music designation and the changes, we will definitely have our music teachers that will be sharing that information, our counselors, et cetera.
Yeah, that'd be great because that I'm sure will be of vast interest too.
Yes.
Lots of our students.
Dr. Islas, can you help me understand the differences between the Mesa High credit hours and MDLP and the other high schools that are on block schedule and their MDLP and the costs associated with that? Can you talk us through that and explain the why behind it?
Yes. Mesa High currently has a 6-period day, whereas the other schools next year will be on the block schedule and have the opportunity for 8 courses. And so when the community ed fee schedule was brought to the board in January and February for approval, those course fees changed for next year. And both schedules have the option of a free MDLP course within their school day. So for example, at Mesa High, it moves to 7. And then the block schedules also have a free course, but then they also have an opportunity for more courses at the block schedule. And so this change was made to ensure that Mesa High still had the opportunity for free courses. The block schedule had an opportunity for free courses, but the block schedule has an additional opportunity for more courses. And so thus the change to the fee on the 9th course.
Okay, I'm going to ask for clarification again because we did this in our check-in and I was like, this still feels a little confusing to me. So I'm just going to talk through it so that the board members this comes to their attention because this took me a couple of times to just make sure that I had it correct. So the way that it currently is written is that high school students taking an MDLP course in addition to courses at their home school are assessed a fee for each class taken in excess of 7 on a non-block schedule and taken in excess of 9 for a block schedule. And the change is that, let me see how it is here. Okay, number one, I think we should write this a little bit clearer. That's my first feedback. No, I'm just trying to see. So any classes exceeding 7 in a semester will incur a fee of $250 for students enrolled at Mesa High. And then for our students attending on a block schedule, if a student enrolls in an MDLP course exceeding 8, will incur a fee of $250, and this applies to everyone else. So I think this is my question is, Mesa High students, it's more than 7. Like they're taking 6 in a day, but they're only being charged if it's more than 7. So they're getting charged on the 8th class. But at our block schedule high schools, they're getting charged not.
They already have 8 courses available in their day. So anything over and above, they would be charged.
So it just feels to me like our Mesa High, and I just want to have this discussion if this is what we want and why the decision was made. Our Mesa High students can take 7 classes plus an MDLP. right? Like they can do their 6 classes plus a free class, number 7, and our block schedule students can do 8 classes and then they pay.
Because they already have 8 built within their day.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're essentially charging them anything over and above their regular schedule. Whereas Mesa High is getting a free course, and then we're charging them beyond that.
And I love that, except for the fact that also in the block schedule, we're asking them to take classes as part of that 8 schedule. They're taking a core academy class and they're potentially taking another class. So I feel like we have this discussion often, that we're offering them more opportunities. But I do think there's discussion about the fee that we're charging for those students, because really, we are allowing them to take 8 classes, but it is 7 that are going towards graduation requirements. Because those academy core classes are not part of graduation requirements.
Right, and parents have the right to opt out of those if they so choose.
And as we make this change, maybe this is something we just need to communicate really effectively as parents make their 4-year plan and are making financial decisions, that many of our MDLP classes do meet graduation requirements. And those are very valuable for students who want to participate in arts and athletics. I understand that there's a shift here and that there's an opportunity to take 8 classes. But I think this is something I'd love to really weigh how many students this impacts and how we feel as a board, saying Mesa High probably necessarily needs this extra credit, but how is that going to impact our other schools?
And can I add a comment, perhaps? Is that I see what you're saying, Mrs. Chappie. Well, let me see if I understand what you're saying. So it appears as though Mesa High is getting the opportunity to take a free course in addition to what's already in their day, and the rest of our campuses are not, because the rest of our campuses have the opportunity to earn 8 credits in a year. And actually, I mean, they have to earn, like, freshmen and sophomores don't have a choice, right? However, do we really want our students taking 9, 10, and do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
totally valid.
I totally
I think
see
that's
what
a huge
you're
course
saying.
load.
It appears as though it's. It appears as though Mesa High students are getting an added benefit. However, with the block schedule, the added benefit is you're already getting 8 credits. I mean, I think the bigger question for me is over time figuring out how does the block schedule affect us overall?
And yeah, we may not want students to be able to take that many classes. That is going to impact our ADM. We know this is one of the impacts. So saying, students can take more classes, that has an impact on our district. I just wanted to highlight that because it is a change. It is a shift. I didn't want it to be part of consent, and I wanted to make sure that that's really clearly communicated to our parents, because, I mean, essentially either way, you're getting 7 required classes, but it's important for parents who have incoming freshmen, as they're mapping out those schedules, that they're talking about that and having those conversations and knowing, like, if you are taking more than this or you were planning on doing online bowling, it's not going to be part of your credits. You're going to be paying for that. And some of those opportunities are only available through MDLP.
They can still take one MDLP course in their 8, can't they? So they still could take online bowling as one of their courses, just not an extra one.
Correct.
Any other questions? Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, Ms. Kirby, will you please take our vote? With a vote of 5 yeas, you've approved the MPS 25-26 high school and junior high school course catalog revisions. Now move to, do I have a motion to approve the 2025-26 pay for performance plan?
So moved.
Oh, I got two.
I'll be second.
Ms. Walden moved and Ms. Benson second. Mr. Wing.
Ms.
Oh,
Hutchinson.
sorry, Ms. Hutchinson, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Thank you, Cameo. Mr. Wing, will you share your presentation with us?
Certainly. I'll just start by sharing that, excuse me, we're recommending no changes to our pay for performance plan going into the 2025-26 school year, which would mean we're using the same protocol for the fourth year in a row. Part of the consideration for no changes is that Mesa Public Schools, we're going to be experiencing changes going into next school year, other changes such as leadership, et cetera. And so this is one area where we can continue, and I'll share some of the details with you in a second. This does align with Arizona Revised Statutes 15977. I want to say it was established in 2001 when voters approved Classroom Site Fund, which incorporated a pay for performance component to it. There will be no changes or modifications, even though it permits the governing board to do so. Human Resources, we work with our four employee associations, MEA, MAX, Mesa, and MESPA, and they all are aware and agreement to the recommendation of continuing with our current pay for performance protocol. There are really two goal settings for employees. One is a performance goal and one is a work product goal. Quickly, performance goal is just to improve your overall performance on things you currently do. The work product goal is really aimed at enhancing a certain area or even developing something new within your scope of work. The work product goal can be collaborative. For example, I know there's a small group of individuals in Human Resources enhancing our classified new hire orientation would be kind of an example on the work product goal. We do apply the SMART goal setting, being sure that it's specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Employees, when they complete their performance goal and the work product goal, the forms lead them to address each of these components in the SMART goal setting. Quickly, the actual pay for performance approved last board meeting, I believe, or the two board meetings ago, excuse me, was through our stipend schedule, $1,000 pay for performance for a full-time equivalency, prorated based on an employee's full-time equivalency. If half-time, they would receive half. It is and will remain $1,000. For non-teachers, those who are not eligible for the Classroom Site Fund, meaning other certified personnel, administrators, classified, that $1,000 is broken into two components. One is the performance goal and one is the work product goal. For teachers, the Classroom Site Fund eligible folks, they have a third component. So instead of a 50-50 split, it is 40%, 40%, $400, $400, and then the final 20%, the $200 is going to be based on their evaluation, and this aligns with Statute 15977 through the Classroom Site Fund, what was the state statutes that were developed based on the voter approved initiative. Accountability regarding our pay for performance. There are 3 forms that employees have to complete during the year. One is actually the goal setting form. In December, they're required to complete a mid-year update that is submitted and shared with their supervisor, and then an end-of-year update as well. Most of it's done through our HRIS Perform evaluation system. So we have record of it internally, and as well as supervisors have access to it as well. There are appeal guidelines where an employee who feels that some consideration should have been made from maybe not exactly achieving their performance goal or their work product goal. A good example would be somebody on like family and medical leave where they weren't able to achieve certain goals because they were on non-work status leave. That could be a consideration, et cetera. And then timelines, I already kind of skipped to this already. The timelines, we'll be sharing the plan details. Again, it's pretty consistent with the past couple of years if the governing board approves. In July setting, September 5th will be a due date for employees to establish their goals. I don't show a December mid-year one, but there is a mid-year report. And then the end of the year, April 30th, their final due date to complete their pay for performance goal updates. And with that, there you go. I'm open for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Wing. Board members, any questions? No questions? Seeing none. Ms. Kirby, will you please take our vote? With a vote of 5 yeas, you've approved the 2025-26 pay for performance plan. Moving to E, do I have a motion to approve the 2025-26 proposed certified teacher evaluation handbook?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Wing, will you give us an overview of those changes on this?
Certainly, this is, I think, two words describe the changes. One is consistency or having consistency, and then the second is just streamlining some of our processes. There was a certified evaluation design team led by Ms. Susan Jenny, our Executive Director of Human Resources, along with the Mesa Education Association, Ms. Berg, who spoke earlier in public comment, worked together to provide some continuous improvement on some of our processes. Two major changes. One is all certified teachers will be evaluated using the same instrument every year, rather than some years you're only given certain components of the evaluation tool. This will provide consistency for various reasons. It was alluded to earlier, the reduction in force. We haven't had one since the recession years, and so we've had some opportunities to improve based on things we identified last year, and that includes making sure all of our certified staff are evaluated using the same instrument. Second is to remove an extra summative evaluation. In Mesa Public Schools, we have required beyond state statute requirements for certified evaluations, and many have saw this as a compliant kind of or a checklist type of task. And so what we're doing is we're recommending that we follow state statute on evaluation requirements for both continuing teachers and for probationary teachers. Probationary teachers are teachers less than majority of 3 consecutive years in the school district. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Wing, and thank you to all those that were involved with this and putting this together. We appreciate it. Any questions?
I have some. With the handbook, as I was glancing through it, I didn't see any of the changes highlighted to make sure that our, at least I didn't see them. Are they highlighted? Because there's
I thought we had a revision,
I-
but maybe we didn't share it with you. We'll share that. The highlights are in the memo.
Well, I saw that. Okay. So then, how do teachers that are on the alternative evaluation cycle fit into this? How are they going to be evaluated on all 22 components?
They will not be. Through our certified evaluation committee last year, 2 years ago, my apologies, don't write that down, but within the last year or two, we determined that those on the alternative evaluation cycle, and you can only be on the alternative evaluation cycle if you have an overall classification of highly effective for 3 consecutive years for that certified member. They'll receive a score, the top score of the top outcome of an evaluation. So they will still go based on, they have to do a formal walkthrough, and then there's just a status check that administrators are required to complete every year. So for example, there are 22 standards or factors that are rated in our Danielson evaluation tool. If highly effective is worth 3 points, that's 66 total points that can be achieved through that evaluation if we're looking at having to do another reduction of force in the future, et cetera. So anybody on the AEC will automatically get 66 points.
Okay, and how long can you stay on the alternative evaluation cycle? Is it 3 and then you have to go back, or is it indefinite?
It can be indefinite. 2 opportunities to be removed. One, the teacher can ask to be placed based on the standard evaluation cycle.
Yeah, I don't know.
They have the opportunity to do that by September sometime at the start of the year. The second, administrator can elect to move a teacher onto the standard. At the end of the year, administrators do have to complete a form verifying that this individual still or remains highly effective overall.
Okay, and to determine that, is there any standard measure, the length of time that an administrator should be in a classroom during their formal walkthrough? I know it's not the full length of a full lesson, but like, is there a
Nope.
recommended, hey, you should be in the classroom at least?
I believe in our training, we do 10 to 20 minutes for that formal walkthrough.
Okay.
It's not tied to any state statute. That's just our practice, wanting to make sure administrators are in classrooms. And the formal side of it is just really what we mean by that is to provide written feedback to the individual based on that walkthrough.
And then my final question is, how do our ESI employees that return fit into this? It's my understanding that they go back to, like, let's say that I retired, I'm an ESI employee 1 year, but before I retired, I was on the alternative evaluation cycle. When I come back as a full-fledged Mesa employee, it's my understanding that they're put back on the traditional evaluation cycle. Is that accurate? And is there a way for our ESI, I mean, if they were, it's doubtful if they continue teaching that they weren't still, you know what I mean? So how do we?
If an individual who's on that highly effective alternative evaluation cycle goes on ESI and then returns the following year, they will not continue as an AEC, alternative evaluation cycle, because the state statute requires 3 consecutive years in the school district of receiving a highly effective evaluation. And that year you're on ESI, you're not employed by Mesa Public Schools. So there is a start over. I will share that Human Resources has embedded in our training on ESI, making people aware of it. I don't know if anybody turned down the opportunity to go on ESI because of that change, but we do want to be transparent and communicate, because that was a lesson learned a few years ago when we made some changes to ESI. They do not return as a probationary teacher, however, and quite technically, a return to work retiree, a return to work teacher who had normal retirement under Arizona State retirement system, a lot of the evaluation laws do not apply to them, specifically in statute. And so we don't have to move them back to the probationary status where they have 2 evaluations in a year, but they still have, we put them more underneath that continuing teacher where they have to have 1 evaluation every year.
Okay, and then if they're ranked highly effective
After
for 3 straight
the
years,
4th
then they
year,
go back
yep.
to the A.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
You are correct.
Any other questions?
I had a quick question. So this increases that 22-point evaluation, so it's done every year instead of every 3 years for the teachers that are that have the highly exceeds or that meet the requirements to have it done every 3 years. So is there work that is going to be replaced with this new evaluation? Like, does this increase or decrease the principal's workload?
I'll say overall, it'll be a decrease of principal and teacher workload. What occurs now is the probationary teacher, the first 3 years, they receive a full evaluation, 22 factors. They get 3 evaluations. So they get a fall, a spring, and then like the day after the spring, you get the end of the year 1. So you get 3, which complicates things. So we're moving that board back to 2 evaluations in a year. The continuing teacher, the first year they receive the full evaluation, and the second and third they receive 10 out of 22, and then that cycle just keeps changing every 3 years. We're moving that up to 22, so yes, the principal has to evaluate all continuing teachers with more factors to be considered. With that said, they only have to complete 1 evaluation, not the end of year, not the mid-year and end of year evaluation.
All right, thank you. That's good info. And I did appreciate the comments we heard from Mrs. Berg about the fairness of having the evaluation, the full evaluation done every year. That made a lot of sense. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, board members. Seeing none, Ms. Kirby, will you please take our vote? With a vote of 5 yeas, you've approved the 2025-26 proposed certified teacher evaluation handbook. And thank you, Mr. Wing, for your presentations tonight. Moving in to our discussion items. Dr. Gibbs, I think you're up. We made it. Our first presentation tonight is on attendance linking to our board goals of increasing proficiency and graduation rates. So I believe, Dr. Gibbs, do you need the clicker? Mr. Wing has the clicker. I saw the look in the eyes. It's the clicker look. All right. Thank you, Dr. Gibbs. It's all yours.
All right. Good evening, members of the board and superintendency. Have a brief update tonight at the end of the year on attendance and our Zella scores. So first we'll take a look at where we ended up the year on attendance. The first metric we watch is average daily attendance. Average daily attendance is calculated by taking all the days attended by all of our K-12 students divided by all the days our students were enrolled. So, and you can see here that average daily attendance has been creeping up the last 2 years, which is a good thing. When you're dealing with over 50,000 students, percentages move slowly, so it's good when you see movement like this. Okay, next we look at average daily attendance by grade. And here you can see students have the lowest attendance rate as they get into junior high and high school, particularly as students have a lot going on in the high school years and things start competing for their time. Then we look at students who were absent for 10% or more of the academic year. Now, for this group, we're looking at K-12 students who are with us for the majority of the year. And among those, these are students who we're leaving out the highly mobile population and transient population, and looking at those who are with us for the majority of the year. And of those, here you can see the numbers have been inching down each year as well. And then the final stat we're looking at tonight is for attendance, is the percent absent for 18 days or more. And this, once again, looks at kindergarten to 12th grade and students who were here for half the year and of those who are enrolled for half the year. And these are the students who, of those, were gone for more than 18 days. And once again, this number has gone down as well. It's a good outcome for our folks, and it's moving in the right direction. All right, so that is attendance. Go ahead and move on to Isella, and then if folks have any feedback on those, we can discuss that.
Do we know any of the factors that led to the decrease in the chronic absenteeism? It's still way too high. It blows my mind. It blows my mind that 28% of the kids are missing more than 18 days. It blows my mind.
Yeah, there's a few,
particularly at the younger ages. It's like, where are those kids?
Yeah. A few notes, and then if the area superintendents know some practical situations happen out in the field, certainly they can provide input as well. One, prior to the pandemic and even back in the days when attendance was part of ADM collection, average daily attendance was the goal was 95% by the state of Arizona.
Right.
And now, although we're inching up, we're still at 91.3%. So we have work to do. That's the first thing on average daily attendance. Kids need to show up. If you want kids to learn, they got to be in school. The second thing on chronic absenteeism is while we're inching down, the national research still is recognizing that it's almost double the rate that it was prior to the pandemic as well. And that work that needs to be done is centered around sense of belonging, engagement in school, and what we've done over the course of the last 2 years is Amy De La Torre has been primarily the lead, has led out the attendance task force and trying to implement some things at the school level with respect to how to get kids engaged in the learning process. We also have some interactions right now with teaming. Kids in teaming tend to attend school a little bit less, actually, is the initial research out of ASU, than kids in non-teaming environments. And we're just digging into why does that occur? Why do kids in teaming environments attend about 3/4 of a day less on average than kids in non-teaming environments? And how do we engage the teams so that we can get better at attendance? So all these factors contribute, and we're studying it across the district to see how attendance can improve throughout the whole district. And there are some good initial signs up. Our initial KPIs with school level administrators that we released just this last week are centered around, we are expecting our school level administrators to increase attendance and decrease chronic absenteeism, and it'll be something that we build into their evaluation process on an annual basis. So just know that the administrators are being made aware that there are going to be expectations to get kids present and at schools. If the area superintendents have any practical school level things that they can comment on, that'd be greatly appreciated.
Yes, I can add.
Thank you.
At least at the elementary level that I can speak to more specifically, our leaders are really looking into their data more regularly to ensure that they are aware of the students that have chronic absenteeism, and then they're implementing interventions to ensure that those students are touched, that their families are touched, their parents are called, and that they are more aware around what's happening to those families that is increasing their attendance. There are a lot of campuses that are focusing on really recognizing students that are at school, so a lot of announcements around perfect attendance or recognitions for students who are coming to school. And then we do have some schools that are actually having some friendly competition around recognizing, the consistent high attendance rate on the daily basis to ensure that students are really focused on coming to school. And then last, I think that one of the major things that's happening on campuses is they really are focused on ensuring that they're providing high quality, engaging lessons that students are able to participate in, and they want and have that excitement to come to school. And if there's something else.
I appreciate that. I'm hoping that if this is a measure of accountability for principals, that there's articulation between the principals of what's working, and that we give them the time to talk with each other, and particularly, we can be as engaging as heck with kids, but if parents don't get their kids to school, they can't be engaged. So I'd really like to see the parent committee tackle this issue with greater sense of urgency and deliberation. Because if I remember correctly, Dr. Skinner, we talked about absenteeism, and it seemed like we kind of got into it, but I'd really like to look at the parent quotient and make sure that parents understand how important it is for their kids to be in school, get them there, and get them there on time. And if we could do something with SIACs or PTOs and take it down to the grassroots level, I'd really like to see some type of intervention with parents.
Yeah, Board Member Hutchinson, the Mesa Parent Council spent quite a bit of time talking about attendance and the importance of attendance and understanding what they can do in their schools to increase the friendly competitions and so on. Each school has an attendance team, and that attendance team is analyzing the data that Miss Mesa was referring to, and then identifying what is the barrier. And I think that it's also something that we need to be talking to our family support specialists about, and bringing them in to say, how are we making sure that the importance of coming to school is top of mind? And then through the Parent Advisory Committee, Dr. Skinner was talking about the relationship between discipline and attendance. And there seems to be some data that indicates that kids who miss more tend to have more discipline problems because they're always on the back foot. And so we've got to, our area assistant superintendents talk about the MTSS system. It's not just academics that we need to intervene on, but it is behavior and attendance.
So I assume we're doing questions with
Sure,
each
yes.
presentation. Okay, so are the absent 18 days or more, is that the same? Is the absent 10% or more, is that overlapping data?
The groups of kids who are absent for 10% or more are very much the same kids who are absent for more than 18 days as well. You could be present, you can be enrolled for just a few months, like say half the year, and just make it into this sample, but still be absent for 10%. That's 9 days only. So if you were enrolled for half the year, just a little bit more than half the year, you'd be included in here. And 10% for you would only be 9 days.
All right, so there's some overlap, but
There
not
is overlap,
necessarily
right.
all of it. Okay, and then my second, is there a way to get data, not necessarily based on our standardized achievement tests and success of students that are present, so for grades given to them, let's say, courses earned, with, if we have somebody that's chronically absent, they've missed 10% or more within a course, days, and yet they're able to meet the requirements of the course, is there a way for us to capture that data rather than just it being on standardized measures? Does that make sense?
Yes, so you're looking to find out, you're looking to know, if I understand you correctly, for those students who are, the difference between, what percentage of those students who are chronically absent are advancing at a normal rate? Is that what you're thinking?
Correct.
Okay.
Is there a way to, because
That could be calculated, yeah.
so I mean, I think that there's sometimes kids say, I don't have to be, I can pass the test, I don't have to be there, right? So, and they may not be enticed by engaging lessons, right? If they can read the book themselves and they can pass it, or they can do practice samples on their own, then I think that's an issue that we potentially have to also address, is let's make it engaging, let's get them to want to be there, but let's make it so that they can't actually pass the course if they're not at school. Because we have some very intelligent kids. I taught gifted. I have several of my students that I'm sure would have been able to sit out for several days, right? So we've got to make sure that it's difficult enough to get them there.
Okay, thank you. Any
I'm
other?
going to refer that to my colleagues here for discussion.
It's just an issue I think that we should consider, and I don't think we have to discuss it tonight.
Just be something to be mindful. Okay, let's go over Dr. Gibbs on the next
Okay,
item.
result, yes.
Yep.
Be a slide deck for that one here too. Oh. Sure, yes. There you go. How's that? Sorry. All right, so now we'll have a look at the auxiliary assessment. The auxiliary assessment is the key English language learner state assessment for the year, and is the test that determines whether students continue in our EL program. And most of our EL students are included in our state test scores. So when we see our proficiency rates, it's good to remember that these numbers include students for whom English is an additional language on top of their home language. But for this year, though we've had a decline in enrollment, our number of EL students continues to increase.
Dr. Gibbs,
Yes.
say that one more time, please.
Though we've had a decrease in enrollment, the number of EL students has increased.
Thank you. Also, can you make a comment on the number of students who have an IEP as well? What are the trends with enrollment with students with IEPs, even though our enrollment's
Right.
declining?
Yep, both SPED and IEL have been increasing as a proportion of our student body.
Yeah.
So, and this increase has been seen not just at the upper levels, but also at the very beginning. So in kindergarten, the number of students has increased as well. So we're receiving students at all 8 age groups who are EL learners. In this chart, you can see that these students are continuing to be spread out even more evenly throughout our grade levels. We continue to serve older students. Many students do arrive in high school and enter our programs in those upper grades as well. Our students come from a wide range of backgrounds, and you can see the representation of languages in our student body here. These are the top 10, with slow increases in the number of non-English speakers. And so despite the increase, we've seen despite the increase in students that we serve, we have seen gradual increases in the number of students who are testing proficient and are able to exit the program, which has been a great encouragement to our EL team and to the rest of us, of course, as well.
Dr. Gibbs?
Yes.
Can I ask Dr. Islas a question? Dr. Islas, what work's been done in the last 3 years? Because Marcy's going to ask this question anyways. What work's been done in the last 3 years regarding our ELL structures?
Yes, so 3 years ago, we put together a proposal to increase the amount of certified teachers that could support our teachers across a campus, and we decreased our technical support positions, who mostly did paperwork and testing and those kinds of things is one thing. So we changed our model, and it's based upon the number of students that a campus has, and then the amount of support is provided through that. And then along with that, we also have been providing a lot of professional learning specific to learning English as a second language, what the data actually means. We've been sending out our content specialists, and our coaches have been working with individual students in identifying their strengths and needs so that they really understand what that means. Additionally, students that are assessed in this on the Azella are also students who may have exited the program through parent withdrawal, but they are still incorporated into the data, and we still have to assess them for a few years. And so we've also worked with those students and those families to help them understand and identify the importance of these English language proficiency standards and how to access that, and then the professional learning, specifically with our intensive support schools, as well as looking at the data and really where additional support was needed for our teachers. Our content specialists and our coaches have received a lot of professional learning in small groups. We provided substitutes to additionally provide more professional learning, so really have targeted how students learn and transfer, incorporating the language aspect specifically as they access grade level content.
This is just a big celebration. And, you know, oftentimes in public education, we understand how many improvements we have to make to get better for outcomes for kids. And when those improvements occur, we just need to stand up and say, hey, great job on making improvements throughout the system. So when I saw this data roll in this year, celebrations across Terry Cota and her team, Dr. Isis and her team, and then all our school principals for implementing everything they needed to do to increase outcomes for kids. We still have progress to go, but you know, there's trending in the positive direction.
Yeah, thank you. All right, so just a couple more quick slides here. The Azella has 4 bands, and you can see them here by grade level with fairly consistent representation of students within each band at each grade level. And then finally, right, we have a chart here showing growth. So as we'd expect to see from the growing number of students who reclassify as proficient, we see that there's also very slow growth, but there's growth also in the number of students who advance 1 or more levels. This small difference adds up, particularly when you consider you always do have students who go back a grade level or 2. So it's not just advancing, it's also you don't want to have fewer kids regressing too. Both of those things work together. So these growth points are an encouragement to the EL team, and as we just heard from Dr. Islas, and just a tremendous cause for celebration, all the work that the team has done. And thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Gibbs. Board members, any questions?
I just have one. Are we actively trying to engage community ed in supporting parents of English language learners?
Yes, is the answer to that. If you ever want to see some of the best learning happening in Mesa Public Schools, you can go over to the Community Education Department and watch our parents learn English through our community education services and adult education programming. It's a great experience. And then if you, in next 90 days of May, want to watch people graduate from that program, that's a fun graduation to go to.
And I'd also like to recognize our nationally award-winning family literacy program that we have that is in our elementary schools.
I was just going to add that we began that program 15-ish years ago in our Title I, many of our Title I schools, and engaged families primarily in the K-3 area, but it's open to all, and really work side by side where parents come in and work side by side with their students. And we added several years ago what literacy instruction looks like, the data. So not only are parents learning English side by side with their students, but they're also engaged in what students are learning in school.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you, Dr. Gibbs. We appreciate it, you being here. Do I have a motion to move into executive session pursuant to ARS 38-43103A3, discussion or consultation for legal advice with the attorney or attorneys of the public body?
So moved.
I'll second.
Ms. Benson moved, Ms. Hutchinson seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Kirby, will you please take our vote? With a vote of 5 yeas, the board will now move into an executive session. After completing the executive session, the board will resume the regular meeting and adjourn it. No additional business will be conducted. Thank you for being here tonight.